This is actually the fresh time that you've never seen it before, because even though people try to distract you, you know quite well you've only got one life. In every moment, that life is a choice. And your choice is either to articulate the times we're living in, or to sit back like a patient witness and watch the waves of blood and bodies pass by you, as in Gaza, as in Yemen, as in Lebanon, as in Syria. We are not that yet, but there is a war upon us, upon the soft, the women, grandmothers, all the people there who are librarians. They are censoring the books and closing down the libraries. Why? They don't want us to know about this fact that fascism comes back again. It's like a little wave. When people are so afraid, they want a strong leader. And it doesn't matter who it is. It can be replaced like a light globe. So whether or not that is the problem, or whether the mountain of people who are following is the real problem, we are not the problem. We are a solution. We don't follow the death, violence syndrome. We're actually into a life game. And the life game is a good game because everyone comes out winning. There's no competition. There's no fight for glory or anything like that, because the only glory is intrinsic. How close can we get to the truth? How close can we actually say what we're feeling in these painful days with wounded people and with this world always arguing with each other? How much can we heal ourselves? That's what poetry's here for. Now find the words to wrap the bandages around your soul so you're able to be calm and soft and gentle in the middle of the hurricane. You're the soft core of it all. You're the reason you exist. You may as well find more reasons and continue just like this. Confessions of a Poetry Addict. Every Thursday, as long as I'm alive, I go down to Lazy Days and we have a poetry workshop where we write. Each of us gives a prompt and we wake up all the people who are sleeping and we write about something that's important to us. Fantastic. Every stranger turns up and they don't know what to do, so we invent things. Then, not enough for my addiction, so I go down once a month down to Wake the Dead coffee shop, Old Ranch Road 12 in San Marcos. Run over the last 15 years by 5 different hosts. Magnificent reading, round robin of course. But to get there, you've got to park, and normally there's students all over the place. It's a student coffee shop. I see a 45-degree parking spot vacant, which has never happened before. Normally it's full of cars. So I immediately drive the van right up there, getting out of the van, and I notice the cars rolling back down the hill. Gravity. And I think to myself, put my foot up, put my hand on the brake, on the emergency brake. I'm going to do that. So I open the door and I'm getting out, and the door is strong to me out because the vehicle is going down the hill, and took me with it and put my leg under the wheel. So I'm sitting there with the van about 10 feet down the road. Luckily, no other cars or people were in the vicinity at the time. They were all inside the coffee shop, of course. And then I thought to myself, okay, what do I do now? I've just had the van go over me. What does an Irish person do? He hobbles up, because there's blood all over the ground, and gets back into the van, drives it up, puts the brake on, puts it in park, and hobbles inside the coffee shop and begins to do the poetry. It was a 2-hour reading. It was a magical reading, and there's blood on the coffee shop floor to show that my inspiration was flowing at the time. The beauty was, that's just the beginning of the story. Because like every Irish person, I said, well, what do I do next? I got to get home. So I get in the van and drive all the way home, bleeding on the floor. And here I am today to tell you that's not just a story. That was my life. Confessions of a Poet, Chapter 2. What did you do, Tom, in the last 96 hours? Well, my friend has run our Waco Wordfest for 20 years, and I have been, whenever possible, her ally in all of this, because it's open, living, and free, which are the 3 dictates of every living society, not to be caught up in the competitive money game or the Bitcoin game. So drive up to Waco and present myself, and then get to what they might call host the anthology. There are 64 poets who have been talking about the sun. I'm a moon person myself, but I always give equal time, because my poem is about the fact that we are all made of solar energy. We can't live without that little burning nuclear reactor. So we think of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Fukushima, Chernobyl, and get a whole lot brighter. So the point is, It was a successful festival. Everyone was happy, and I come back because it's the Homeless Memorial. Every year for the last 20 years now, PJ the Cowboy Poet has been listening to and naming all the people who die on the streets of Austin. Last year there were 326 people who died, and then this year there's only 205 names that were called. And I got to read my poem called Unsheltered, about the necessity for actually, there's enough space in for everyone, but there isn't enough love, grace, compassion. That's what we really need. Anyway, my friend sang, and she carried her friend's ashes down to the Stevie Ray Vaughan statue and spread them on Town Lake. So if you're swimming there, watch out, because Rebecca's ashes are probably floating somewhere by. But that was good. That was really fine. And because of that, I am rich in donuts and tacos. And though next, of course, I was invited to and performed at the Evermore Benefit. It's to do with grieving. This is an age of grief. Everyone I know is suffering one way or the other. They've got a monkey on their back, or they've got a bucket full of tears. Whatever it is, they're carrying something they shouldn't hang on to. So this was a festival and a concert with two poets, Element 615 and myself. I was the first one supposed to go on, but they put the squirrel show on because they're all set up. A man dressed up in a rabbit suit who pretends he's a squirrel and does all these songs on the spot. Very clever man. And then I go up and do my 15 minutes of be alive, because if you don't, someone else will. And for a little while I get beautiful response, and bit by bit people come up and say how much they really like whatever it was. No one can define it, because they have to have their own words, you see. And then I hobbled my way down to the car, came back home last night, and here it is today. 96 hours, 3 shows, top that. Confessions of a Poet, Chapter 3. That's right, what do we do when something happens to you that's catastrophic? Well, we turn on its legs again so the turtle can move down on Turtle Island. So first of course, I get taken to a little ward, emergency ward. No, it was a place where I haven't got a doctor with urgent care. They're not that urgent, but they did wrap it up at least to show that I was a product of packaging, right? And they took photographs of it. There was blood coming everywhere, messed up their whole place. It was spectacular. But I was laughing all the time because I was hysterical. And then the next day, with a wrapped leg, went to emergency care for 6 hours, where they did a CAT scan, they did X-ray, and we met some astonishing people there. These nurses who were dedicated to their task and were really friendly. One from Philippines, one from Thailand, and they were really positive to each other and to us. So I gave them a book of poetry. And of course, poetry speaks all languages. And I told them that I'd spent time in Baguio and Legazpi in the Philippines and Manila. And so they laughed with us and really helped right to the last minute, wheeling the wheelchair out so I could get back in the van again. And then, of course, had to go to the doctor because our local doctor wants to know how soon I'm dying. And I said, no, living is the word, the only game I play. So the doctor also took photographs and gave unguents and gave us an application for a disabled license so that I can drive over my foot again whenever I have the time. And then, of course, the surgeon the next day who looked at it with a professional eye and laughed. So I had to laugh with him because he said, you need to wiggle your toes. And I said, I'm not piggly wiggly, I'm more a HEB. So we had a great time. I did poetry in the hospital, I did poetry in the emergency ward, I did poetry in the surgery, and gave poetry out everywhere I went. So all in all, every day is a dressing of the wounds that are like little bursting out parts of my leg. But it doesn't matter. What matters is I've met fine people. And the finest people are people of service, people who care about what they do, who are loving, kind, compassionate, and are living here right now, and probably they'll be looking after you. Stories from a Poet, Chapter 4. I'm just a child of the 1960s, but all my heroes of mythology were quite simply blown away. There's young Adonis, John F. Kennedy. See him in Dallas, freeze frame repeatedly, shot through the head, blood over Jackie. They never caught his murderer, did they? Ruby and Oswald both blown away. By the time I got to Maryland, you know I wasn't the only one, but someone took her address book. We'll never know who was the one who spirited her the next dimension. Suicide, they say. Ha ha, the idea holds sway, both the Kennedys and the Mafia wide. Marilyn Monroe blown away. There's always more once you open the door. Jim Morrison, poet extraordinary, never was an autopsy, was there? And as the flowers grow on Jimmy's gravestone at Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris, you start to feel a little alone. Maybe Jim Morrison was blown away. Little Elvis Presley, a sweet soul, I had to meet with some other fellow who kept saying, he's too fat, he's too gross. No one can stand to see their heroes grow old, so they must blow themselves away. Like Kurt Cobain and Ernest Hemingway, who both used shotguns to blow away their troubles. And you know the names of the boring clones, the Rolling Stones, all except the one called Brian Jones. Floating away, drowning away, we now know at that London party that he was blown away. Everyone knows. Oh, little Janis Joplin too. Perhaps she knew no teenage would do, the middle-aged shrew, so she drank herself away. And of course, there's everyone knows Jimi Hendrix of the magic guitar. His freaked out music took us far beyond the third stone from the sun. Lived on the order of everyone else's addiction. Was that you or I, him? No matter. Eric Clapton, you survived to win a Grammy on MTV Unplugged son. But as for little Jimi Hendrix, his band's in heaven and it's blowing away. It's blowing away. Everyone knows John Lennon bequeathed to us our revolution. But as he walked outside one day, even the greatest got blown away by the hands of the man with the gun in his hand, almost the same as the son of Sam, tries to show you can't make gods a man who just get blown away. Now the sands of time have left us alone. They've made a hero of John Lennon, who sells more records now he's made of stone! But he is gone, and we're alone, living with that chilling fear, drawing every day near that every nuclear child of light that manifests in human sight might just be a tug for that awesome plight to be the last collective human sacrifice. No audience, no applause, just swept right off the poetry floor to join our disposable pop heroes forevermore. I say, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare get blown away.